My name is Frank Leader Wood. I'm Pawnee Indian, and the word for hello or greeting is Noah in Pawnee. We're going to make fry bread for you today. You will need these ingredients: flour, salt, baking powder, a little bit of butter, and vegetable oil or oil for cooking, for frying. Now I'll start with the mix, which is, we'll just make a small batch. About 8 pieces of bread. My grandmother used to make this. She never used a measuring cup, but we will this time. So there's 1 cup of flour, 2 cups. We'd normally do about 4 to 6, but we'll just use 2. And for every cup of flour, you want a teaspoon of baking powder. So we have 2 cups in, so we want 2 teaspoons. Okay, and then we want about a half a teaspoon of salt, which I just do.
Yeah, just do it. Let me see your hand. Oh,
Okay.
Oh well.
Half a teaspoon of salt.
Okay.
And you want to mix this very well. And you want 2 hats or 2 tablespoons of butter, room temperature. You can use shortening if you want. Don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it because I like the way it came out. I'm going to cut this in. Or my grandmother used to do it by hand and crumble it up. You like you were making a maybe a pie dough.
What was your grandmother's name?
Bertha Moses, from the Moses family, Brave Chief family. She taught me how to make this when I was about 7 years old. And she made it a point, she says, and don't tell anybody. She said, don't tell anybody how to do this because they took everything else. Why should we give them this?
It's good.
And
good
I think,
reason.
I think it came about, how it came about was when they became wards of the government, and the government gave them all these supplies. They needed to make a bread and some way to live, and this is what they had. So they had salt, flour. I'm not sure if they had baking powder. Probably had baking powder. So this, you want to get this to a sort of resemblance of like a corn or a crumbled, really mixed.
Butter disappears.
Yeah, so we're getting it into it. Okay. Now, you need 3/4 to a cup of milk. You can make it with water, but I made it with milk, and it's really good. And I've heard of both ways of doing it, depending on whether you have it or not. So you combine this. Let's start off with like a 3/4 until you form a dough.
So we're not using the pastry blender anymore. We're
No
just
more
using the
blender.
food.
I mean, no more pastry blender. I'm gonna make a dough out of it, so. Okay. I think I could use just a little more flour because I like it a little heavier. It should form a ball.
How often do you make it nowadays?
This? Very rarely. Before, when we had it, when we were small, they would usually be at what they call the hand games, or the social, they'd have social events, and they would make fry bread. So I didn't make it all the time. And I had an aunt that would make it for them. She'd make it in bushel baskets. This is how much she would make of it.
Wow.
And stand there and cook in the hot summertime, continuously over a stove.
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, yeah. Unbelievable. So now what happens? You want to let that rest at least 10 minutes. Cover it with, I don't have any ceramic, but we'll just cover it, and let it rest for about 10 minutes. Flour your board, or working area pretty generously.
That's a lot. That's good.
Okay. Now, okay. Now, I've already added some oil to the pan. You want about a half inch of oil to cook this in.
Any particular oil?
I like Crisco because it seems to stay hot and get hot faster and keep a good temperature. So you want to turn your oil on. I put some in here already. I made some bread earlier.
Because this is Food Network.
Yeah. So I'm gonna add a little more oil.
And today you're using corn oil.
I'm using corn oil
Okay.
because my wife goofed. Just an oil. Get it oiled. Okay?
Yep.
Now you want to get this really hot. Not smoking, but hot. And we still have to wait at least 10 minutes for
Okay.
this to rest, okay?
Ready to take a
So
break?
you take a break, and
We'll be right back.
we'll be right back.
That should be good.
Okay, it's been 10 minutes or more. It seems like the more you let it rest, it seems like the better it seems to be, but 10 minutes is a max.
Probably less for fidgeting.
So you want to take this out, turn it onto a floured surface here, and we're going to knead it. We're going to roll it.
Knead it, then mark it with beef.
We'll get a little more flour on the board.
That looks good and soft.
Now the ideal thing to do is to half it. So you take about half of this dough and half it again,
Okay.
or thirds. You can do thirds probably. Do thirds. These are going to be pretty good size. So now you want to flatten them out. Oh yeah, and I test the skillet, how hot the oil is, by taking a small piece of dough and putting it in. See it starting to bubble?
That's what you want.
We want that, yeah.
Floaters.
And you want to get this down to a pretty even base. You don't have to be perfectly round, but I would say about a 1/4 inch, about something like that. The heavier, or the thicker, then the heavier the bread will be. and depending on the size, okay, we'll make some small sizes here. And you can play with this and figure out, do a couple of pieces to start to see what consistency you want. If you want it real heavy, naturally a lot thicker. And these should puff up pretty good size. And the reason this bread is so good is because when they do puff up, they get air pockets in it. And the Indians used to use it to, as a spoon. They would ladle, like in their soup, to sup it out when they would do their stews and fill it. And this is also the same recipe for making meat pies, Indian meat pies, which are called pawnee feet. It has, you can fill them like the Spanish or the Mexican people have an empanada. It would be similar to an empanada. It's a pretty good size here. We would be ready to go to what they call a hand game, which it's a social. They'd get together and they would do it for a special, it would be maybe for a family that was in need, and they would have a fun drive, and then they would like raffle off Indian blankets and different things, but they also fed them, and everybody that went took their own dishes. It was almost like a little hobo's bag. You took a napkin, you put a dish in it, a cup, and your eating utensils. You wrapped it up and you took it to your place, the hostess or the host that was having it. That way they didn't have to do any dishes, and we usually brought a pot of something that was made. My grandmother would make something at home. Then you had a pot, and that was all contributed. And then you had a pot to bring things home with, and you brought home your own dishes, so they didn't have to clean them. We're smart, very smart. Now, this oil is pretty hot. You want to get it up fairly hot, and then turn it down midway. And usually put in one at a time. The more you put in, the faster the heat will go down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Starting to cook. You can see it rising, the air.
Curling around the edges.
Yeah.
Now I see in the pot of already made, pan of already made bread, you have two different colors. Some are darker and some are lighter. Which do you prefer?
Yeah.
Do you like darker or do you like light?
I like it light. I like a lighter bread. But I mean, either way, it's both are good.
Right.
But you see how the pockets are starting to fill up. Yeah. And it's good. You can cut it open, fill it with like chili or like a taco if you want. I put jelly in it,
Yum.
or on top of it.
Cinnamon,
Cinnamon, or you see how light? It's a lighter. Just whatever you honey, you know. And this is just an eyeball thing. There's not really a time. You just want to make sure that it's cooked fairly well through. Usually when they puff up like that, they're getting pretty well cooked. And you want a bowl with paper towels in it, so you can let it drain.
Okay.
Now, these are small. Okay, these are small.
Okay.
They're a small one. So I can put maybe 2 in here.
Now your oil's really jamming.
Yeah.
Smells delicious.
Yeah. I like it with just butter. I mean, a lot of people don't. Prefer something else on it, but to me, it's just with butter is great. when we make the meat pie, you roll it out just like this, maybe a little thinner. And you make like you were taco meat, and you would put it in here, and you would fold it, and you would crimp the corners, and then you fry it just like this.
With you fold it over, or you do double?
Or you would fold it over.
Okay,
and
so
then
like an
crimp-
empanada.
Yeah, like an empanada.
Okay.
Or a fruit pie type
Or a
thing.
wonton.
Or you could put fruit into it also.
Yum.
These are really light.
They're nice and puffy.
Yeah. Might turn up the heat just a bit.
Up.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it up just a bit. They should fry really quick. So you can almost see through it. See the,
The thinness of the bubble.
yeah, just the bubbles in
Crispy.
it. Yeah, it's rising. And it's still light bread.
That means your baking powder is really good too. It's fresh.
Yeah,
Because that can sink a recipe faster than the Titanic.
yeah. Well, we were in Mexico. We were in Mexico, and I said, "Well, I'm going to make some fry bread for this crew. We all went down to do this deal." And we were at the market, and not being able to read the Spanish, I got the flour, but we didn't get baking powder. We got baking soda,
Oh.
and even the dogs wouldn't eat it. It turned out to be Frisbees. I couldn't believe it. I was, oh gosh. And some got, because it gets to the air and stuff, and got in the cabinets, couldn't even get the cabinet doors open. Yeah,
And it's salty. Baking soda is fairly salty
yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Those are a nice color.
Okay, we're getting there. Oh, yeah.
Hot bread.
You can see the pockets in it.
Yeah. Nooks and crannies.
Yeah, really good. So, just the 2 cups of flour actually makes quite a bit of bread. And if you were going to do it, and you would just, if you wanted more, then you just double the recipe, or triple. The same amounts each time. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned to make it. Have fun with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.